Kind of like the faucet, you know, you keep on communicating the same idea, but you keep going and you keep intensifying. Nathan is an expert at this. But I'm so good at it, I even acknowledge I know what he's doing, okay? But here's the point. The same process. Oftentimes people don't realize, but this is what's going on. When you communicate, you're basically sending out a message, and if you want that person to really receive it, you want to make sure you validate, you verify, okay, if that's happening, okay? Being able to communicate effectively is therefore essential if you want to build a successful career and so on and so forth. Look at the, go down to the bottom below the graph. Get the point across without misunderstanding and confusion. Your goal should be to lessen the frequency of problems each stage of the process. Meaning that we do realize that in life there's a lot of interference. Like on that CD or walkie-talkie, there's a lot of interference, okay? Static and so on and so forth. The source of the message, you need to be clear about why you're communicating and what you want to communicate. You need to be confident that the information you're communicating is useful and accurate, okay? So, by standing up here to tell you, oh, okay, you need to paraphrase. Well, that's not good enough. Because you need to know, oh, why should I do this? Because if it's not useful to me, I'm not going to learn to paraphrase. Now, in fact, I'm going to go as far as give you an assignment. Okay? From now until tomorrow night, I want you to paraphrase somebody. Okay? Meaning, but don't overdo it. Okay? That would be very annoying. That would be very annoying. Go home and you see your mom or your dad or whatever, and you kept paraphrasing him. Okay? He'll go nuts. He'll say, what's wrong with you? I send you to church and you come back and you're like a tape recorder. Okay? So just do it once. Okay? Just do it once. And call the people in your group or email them on Facebook and tell them that, hey, I just paraphrased somebody. Do you know why I'm asking you to do that? I ask you to do that is because if you don't do it, you haven't learned a thing. And all of me shouting and sharing with you tonight and all my preparation is wasted. Okay? And so I'm ensuring that you actually learn something. Okay? And so if you're not going to do that, well, I need to say it's your responsibility because you don't want to. That's your problem, okay? That's like I said to my boys, hey, you don't want to mess up? Mess up. That's your responsibility. That's the whole point. But so please do, because if you don't practice it, you're not going to learn. So by tomorrow night, make sure you paraphrase somebody. Because oftentimes, if you don't paraphrase, that means we're not listening. Okay? As a source of the message, you need to be clear about why you're communicating. Okay? Make sure it's useful. And then the message is the information you want to communicate. Encoding the process of transferring information is a form. Meaning, sometimes you talk with your voice, sometimes you talk with your face. Right? Sometimes, right? 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 So, how many percent do you think, listen, how many percent do you think non-verbal in communication is? Percentage-wise, how many percent? 60. 60? 85. 1. They've done a study. It's way past 70%. Yeah. That's why the media, television, and all that stuff is so effective, because everything is non-verbal and communicating. That's why preaching is failing. Okay? Not because it's not good, not because it's eternal, not because it's not the Word of God. No, it is. But we're failing because we're communicating in the wrong form. Let's get to this second page, okay? Messages are conveyed through channels, okay? Channels. With verbal channels including face-to-face, telephone, video conferencing, written channels, letters, email, memos, and reports. For this part, what I do, I call it the triple play. I don't know about you in sport. I call it the triple play. The triple play is this. I talk to somebody on the phone, I email them, and then I sometimes write them a letter. Okay, that's called a triple play. Okay? A lot of people say to me, see, you're nuts. Young, Pastor Young, you're kind of crazy. Why are you doing that? I hate to say it, by my experience, If you don't do that, oftentimes you don't get the message across. How many of you agree? He's shaking his head. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you, if you're working in the working world or you're at home trying to convince your wife to do something, or she's trying to convince me to do something, okay? Or I'm telling my kids, you know, to do something, and oftentimes one mode of communication doesn't cut it. Why? I'm going to tell you what. Remember the sermon I shared with you earlier? Distractions. We live in a so distracted world. And we're being communicated. Your message is being competed with all the messages out there. And that's the problem. It's like you go in the car, you turn on the radio, right? Or you go on the internet, you know, all these ads going flying in. And you say, oh, good. Like this. And you go into you're distracted. And so to be honest with you, you know what? For me to be wise, as a minister of the gospel, I need to be doing communication with triple play. Okay? You know, I have a meeting with my other counterpart at the other church tomorrow morning. So we're supposed to meet at 5. Okay, he emailed back and he said, no, somebody couldn't make it, so we're going to do it 1:30. Well, if I didn't reply to him, very likely he didn't get the email. And tonight he's thinking that I got the message and we're not going to show up at the same time tomorrow. So, but I knew, I practiced what I preach. So I emailed him back and I said, copy that. Can you verify? So then he emailed me back. Now, if I don't get that, I'm going to pick up the phone right away because he's very busy. This is not what we do. Okay? So it's very important. I do triple play. Like, for example, here, you know, I email Mishita, I talk to him home. Okay? And if I don't hear their response, I'm going to have to follow through with it. Because if you don't, there's no verification. Okay? It's very important. You need to learn that. Because if you don't, you're going to learn it the hard way. I hate to say, one of these days your boss is going to say, well, I'm sorry. This is it. There's the door. You know? Yeah. You know, and you say, gee, I didn't read my email. Okay. So these are the different channels. It's very important to do that. Now, your generation, you need to create your own channels, okay? And that's what I believe is so different about it, is that you have such an incredible opportunity. Don't do what we do. You know, us in the 80s or the 70s, we don't even know what Twitters and Facebooks are, and we don't short. If you're going to say something, if you have to spend half an hour to think about what you're going to say, it's better. I'll tell you how I did it when I was dating my wife for 6 years before the internet and telephone. I was in Chicago, she was in Pennsylvania. And so what I do is I take notes on things that I wanted to talk to her about before I get on the phone, okay? But that's when I save time, because I ended up paying like $300 a month. That's a lot of money on the phone bill. But anyhow, that's how I had to do it. You guys like on the internet and all that stuff for free, you know, and you don't even talk, so anyway. But here's the point. Here's the point. Sometimes we communicate with noise, like that. You know, you get on the phone and sometimes, okay, what else are we going to say? And that's it. And now it does build community and there's a sense of love, but you really not getting anything across, okay? So it's very important. You know, like for example, I started working in this church, and it's hard for me to explain to a lot of the people. I said, look, okay, for us to communicate effectively, the best thing is don't pick up the phone every time you have a thought. Okay? It's not important. Okay? It's not important. If you have a thought, write it down. And maybe you actually have 10 thoughts about me and what you need to talk about to me. Then you call me. Then we'll talk of these 10 things. It's the same thing when you do at work. It's the same thing when you do with your spouse. It's the same thing what you need to do with your parents. Okay? Don't, like I used to do, is that every time I see somebody, let's say I just met you, and I said, okay,